All right, buckle up, everyone, because we are diving headfirst into one of the wildest NFL weeks in recent memory. Week 14, we're talking heated playoff races, some absolutely shocking upsets, and veteran quarterbacks. Well, some of them are rewriting history, and others, maybe they're wishing for a time machine.
Yeah, it was a real shake-up week, that's for sure. Some serious power shifts. And the playoff picture, man, it just keeps getting more and more interesting.
Absolutely, and we've got a lot to cover today, from those controversial finishes to, the nail-biting comebacks. But let's kick things off with the game that had everyone talking. Texans versus the Jaguars. On paper, it looked like an easy win for the Texans, and, well, it kind of was. Final score 23-20. Mixon rushed for over 100 yards. But there's a much bigger story here.
Right.
How?
No, absolutely. That game, it became more about what happened after the final whistle than the actual score itself. Al-Shaher's hit on Lawrence, that changed everything. Concussion, brawl, the whole conversation shifted.
It definitely overshadowed what should have been a celebratory win for the Texans. So what are your thoughts on the long-term implications here? For both teams, especially with Lawrence's status still up in the air.
Well, you got to think about it. Losing your starting quarterback at this point in the season for the Jaguars, that's a massive blow. Their playoff hopes, they're pretty much riding on Lawrence's recovery. And the Texans, yeah, they got the win. But that controversy, it's going to stick with them. It could really mess with their momentum going forward.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how both teams navigate this, that's for sure. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about some veteran resilience. Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. 414 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and on his birthday weekend, no less. It seems like Father Time hasn't quite caught up with him yet. What parts of his performance really stood out to you?
Oh, man. His ability to extend plays and the accuracy of his throws, even under pressure, it was unreal. It was like he had this extra spark, especially in the second half when the Steelers were trailing. It was a true masterclass in veteran quarterback play.
I love seeing a veteran prove the doubters wrong. And he did it against the Bengals team that, while they lost, they showed a ton of resilience themselves.
Yeah.
Burrow had a tough game, 4 sacks, an interception, 2 fumbles, and he still almost pulled off a comeback.
That's what separates the great quarterbacks from the rest. It's that ability to stay calm, stay dangerous, even when everything's going wrong. Burrow's fight, his determination to keep going until the very end. That says a lot about his character and about the Bengals' potential.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of those nail-biting finishes, the Vikings game against the Cardinals, that one kept everyone on the edge of their seats. 5th straight win for the Vikings, but it wasn't pretty. They needed a last-minute comeback to sneak past Arizona.
Oh, man. Darnold's game-winning touchdown pass to Jones. In the final seconds, everyone was holding their breath. And then the Cardinals, their last-ditch effort, followed by Griffin's interception to seal the deal. The tension was insane.
Yeah.
It was pure clutch playmaking on both sides. You could feel the intensity as the clock ticked down. And it really highlights something we don't talk about enough, the mental toughness it takes to perform under that kind of pressure.
Exactly. In those crucial moments, it's not just about physical skill. It's about composure, adaptability, and precise execution.
Well said. Now let's shift gears to a game that wasn't quite as close. Commanders. They dominated the Titans. Final score 42-19, and it felt like the Commanders were in control from the very first snap.
Robinson's 40-yard touchdown run, right out of the gate on their opening drive, it set the tone for the entire game. The Titans, they were on their heels the whole time, and the Commanders, they never let up.
Their offense was unstoppable. The Titans just couldn't find an answer. That early momentum swing, that was huge.
It's amazing how one single play, like Robinson's touchdown, can completely change the entire feel of a game. The Commanders seized the momentum early, and the Titans just never recovered.
Tough loss for Tennessee, but a much-needed win for the Commanders after their recent struggles. Speaking of struggles, let's talk about the Falcons. It was a rough day for Kirk Cousins, 4 interceptions, including a pick 6. What do you think contributed to his uncharacteristic performance?
Well, the Chargers' defense, they were putting on a lot of pressure. But Cousins also made some questionable decisions, forcing throws into tight coverage. It felt like it was a combination of that external pressure and maybe some internal struggles as well.
It's a reminder that even the best quarterbacks can have off days. And in a league as competitive as the NFL, those off days can have serious consequences.
Yeah. It's a humbling reminder that no player is immune to the pressures of the game. Even at the highest level, consistency can be elusive. And when those inconsistencies pop up, it can affect the whole team.
Absolutely. And speaking of teams defying expectations, the Colts pulled off a stunning upset against the Patriots. In New England, no less.
No one saw that coming. A last-second touchdown and a successful two-point conversion. It was a wild finish. The whole league was buzzing about it.
Pierce to Richardson with 12 seconds left. And then Richardson runs it in himself for the win. What a gutsy call. Talk about composure under pressure.
Bold move by the coaching staff going for two. But it paid off big time. That win gives the Colts new life in their playoff hunt. It shows everyone they're a team to be reckoned with.
And finally, we've got the Seahawks pulling off a come-from-behind win against the Jets. They were down 14 points early, but they never gave up.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves, for sure. Rodgers had those two early touchdowns to Adams and Davis, and Monglu's kick return, it looked like the Jets were going to run away with it. But the Seahawks, they dug deep and found a way to turn things around.
Williams' interception return, that was a game changer. It shifted the momentum back in Seattle's favor. But it wasn't just one play, it was a collective effort. How did they manage to adapt and overcome that early deficit?
They made some key adjustments, both on offense and defense. They started putting more pressure on Rodgers, which limited his deep throws. Offensively, they committed to the run game, controlling the clock and keeping their defense fresh. It was the testament to their resilience, their ability to adapt under pressure.
A fantastic display of teamwork and determination. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to unpack. We'll be back in a flash with part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll continue to explore the stories and the performances that made this NFL week so incredible.
It's wild how quickly momentum can change in this league. One play, like Williams' interception, can completely rewrite the story of a game.
Yeah, it really shows you just how unpredictable the NFL can be, huh? 1 minute, the Jets are cruising, looking like they've got it in the bag. The next, they're fighting tooth and nail just to hold on.
That's what keeps us coming back for more, right? You just never know what's going to happen next.
But sometimes, it's not just about one play. It's about a team that just dominates from the get-go. Like the Commanders' victory over the Titans. What impressed you most about their performance?
Oh, man. The way they controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage was something else. They established the run game early, which opened up the passing game, and their defense. They were relentless. They were putting pressure on Tannehill all game long. It was like a well-oiled machine out there. But it's interesting, right? The Titans, they were coming off a big win against the Bills. What do you think contributed to their struggles against the Commanders?
Well, you got to give the Commanders' defense a lot of credit. They disrupted the Titans' rhythm, forced those turnovers, and really shut down their big play potential. It was a completely different Titans team than we saw the week before. And on offense, Robinson, he was phenomenal. Daniels was making smart decisions, and McLaurin, he was a constant threat. It was a true team effort, that's for sure. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. 4 interceptions, that's a tough day at the office for any quarterback. What went wrong for Cousins in this game?
It's tough to say for sure. The Chargers' defense was definitely bringing the heat, but Cousins made some uncharacteristic mistakes, forcing throws into coverage. I think it was a combination of factors, the pressure from the defense and maybe some things going on internally as well.
Yeah, that pick-6 buy. Still, that was a rough one. Turnovers can be killers, especially in those close games.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how the Falcons bounce back from this, especially with their schedule getting tougher.
Absolutely. They're going to need to protect Cousins better and get that running game going if they want to turn things around. Now, let's shift gears and talk about a team that's definitely headed in the right direction. The Indianapolis Colts. Their upset against the Patriots, that was one for the ages. Especially that last-second touchdown and the two-point conversion.
Talk about a gutsy call. What do you think was going through the coach's mind when he decided to go for 2?
It was a high-risk, high-reward situation, that's for sure. But it shows you the confidence they have in their young quarterback. Richardson's poise and determination on that final drive, man, that was impressive. It's a moment he'll never forget.
It was a huge statement win, especially against a team like the Patriots. They're known for their resilience, their ability to win close games. This could be a turning point for the Colts, no doubt. Speaking of resilience, the Seahawks showed a ton of it in their come-from-behind win against the Jets. They were down early, but they never gave up.
It really speaks to their mental toughness, and they made some great adjustments in the second half. Offensively, they committed to the run, which allowed them to control the clock and keep the Jets' offense off the field.
Smart strategy when you're trying to mount a comeback. Keep your defense rested and wear down the opponent. We've seen some incredible performances this week, but as you mentioned earlier, one of the things that makes the NFL so great is the unpredictability.
Exactly. We can analyze the stats and make our predictions, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to those 60 minutes on the field. And as we head into the final stretch of the season, the stakes are only getting higher. Every win, every loss, it all matters for the playoffs.
It's going to be an exciting finish, that's for sure. We'll be back shortly with the final part of our deep dive, where we'll take a closer look at the playoff picture and maybe even make some bold predictions for the rest of the season. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this wild Week 14. As we head into the last few weeks of the regular season, that playoff picture, it's starting to become a bit clearer. But there are still a ton of teams fighting for those playoff spots.
It's crunch time, that's for sure. Every game is a must-win for those teams on the bubble. The intensity is through the roof, and we're seeing some amazing performances from players who know what's on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. The AFC is a particularly tight race right now, with a bunch of teams right around that .500 mark. What are your thoughts on the contenders and maybe some pretenders in that AFC playoff picture?
The Chiefs and Bills, they're still the favorites in my book. But don't sleep on teams like the Dolphins and the Chargers. They've got the talent, the experience. They can make a deep run if they can string some wins together.
And over the NFC, we've got some familiar faces at the top, but there are a few surprises in the mix as well.
The Eagles and the 49ers, they're looking strong, but don't count out the Cowboys and the Seahawks. It's going to be a wild ride watching these races play out.
All right, before we wrap up, let's have some fun. Bold predictions for the rest of the season. Which team do you think is the biggest dark horse contender right now?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. That upset win against the Patriots, it showed they've got the heart, the determination to compete with the best. If Richardson keeps growing and their defense keeps playing like they have been, they could be a real problem in the playoffs.
That's a bold pick. I like it. All right, a little more controversial prediction now. Which team is most likely to disappoint down the stretch?
Ooh, okay. This might ruffle some feathers, but I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings. Their win streak is impressive, no doubt. But they've had some close calls, and their defense hasn't been as dominant as in past years. I think their luck might run out against some of the tougher opponents coming up on their schedule.
Interesting take. I can see that. All right, last one. Gotta get your Super Bowl prediction. Which two teams are going to be battling it out for the Lombardi Trophy this year?
You know what? I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams, they've got explosive offenses, solid defenses, and experienced coaches. They've been at the top of their conferences all year long, and I think they have what it takes to go all the way.
A rematch of Super Bowl LV. Yeah, that would be something else.
Okay.
This season has been full of surprises, and it's clear that anything can happen.
That's what makes the NFL so great, right? It's a game of inches, and the outcome can come down to one play, one decision, one moment of brilliance.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've seen it all this week, incredible comebacks, heartbreaking losses, the whole spectrum of emotions. To our listeners, keep exploring the stories, the players, everything that makes this sport so captivating. Dive deep into the stats, the matchups, the behind-the-scenes moments. It's all part of the journey.
And most importantly, enjoy the ride. This is a season for the history books, and we're lucky to be witnessing it firsthand.
Well said. Until next time, keep that passion for the game alive. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, ready to explore the next chapter in this incredible NFL season.